Sorry, you're gonna have to put like the little explicit thing on this episode.
No, it's fine. I don't care. I really don't care. Because we're being real, right? Telling people what they need to hear. Hey there. My name is Tori Lupinek, and you are listening to The Unclassical Musician, the podcast empowering the new generation of classical musicians to take risks and live a fulfilling life. Each week, we dive in headfirst into a topic on the minds of young professional musicians and come out the other side with a new perspective on life as an artist. Hey y'all, it's me, your friend Tori, here again on The Unclassical Musician. I am so stoked today to bring you this conversation with the queen of social media marketing for musicians, none other than Nicole Riccardo. I look up to Nicole so much. She is such a creative badass and is one of those few people who has like legitimately found her calling in life. You know, she's like doing what she is meant to be doing on this earth. Again, I met Nicole through Instagram because apparently that's where like all my friends hang out nowadays. Her tone and approach to Instagram and her business instantly spoke to my core being. And that ability is truly a unique skill that she teaches people to tap into in order to market themselves better online. Nicole learned industry secrets around utilizing social media for marketing during her 9-to-5 job. And those skills she learned eventually allowed her to quit that job and start working for herself. So Nicole now owns her own online media marketing company called NR Media, and she does it all. And I'm just real quick going to read you this blurb from her website that I think pretty much like sums it all up. Nicole says, "My calling in life is to help other musicians and creative entrepreneurs create a sustainable and profitable career in this insane industry. Just think of me as your real talk entrepreneurship and marketing cheerleader / kick in the ass you need." I mean, don't we all need that nowadays, especially? Stay tuned all the way to the end of our conversation to learn more about an exciting upcoming online live training with Nicole exclusively for listeners of The Unclassical Musician. You're not going to want to miss out. And without further ado, here's our conversation. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show today. I know you are a very busy lady.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So can we please start off, because I've already recorded an intro for you because I'm so excited to have you on the show because I've been following you for so long and you've done so many great things like during a pandemic, like in this past year. I feel like I'm in the presence of like fame and I want everyone to know about you. So can you please tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, like, hold on for a second while I, just like wipe my tears for a minute. Yes. Hello. Hi. Well, I am a flutist. I got my bachelor's and master's in flute performance, but obviously I am not really doing anything related to that now. I have digital courses and run my digital marketing agency, NR Media, and we focus a lot on branding, web design, social media, marketing. And so it's really either, the courses on let me empower you to do this yourself, or the agency, like you don't want to learn how to do it and just want us to do it for you. Great. We can help with that too. Yeah, so that's the very too long didn't read version of what I currently do.
So During like this past year, I mean, I know that you are a fellow flutist, and I know that, I mean, you do teach lessons though, right?
I actually stopped teaching
You
lessons. Yeah,
stopped?
I made that
Wow.
transition last year. Yeah, I phased out of teaching. So I am now, I don't have any students. I do still, well, when it's a thing, play with some orchestras. But yeah, aside from that, it's just performing and running the businesses when performing is a thing.
Yeah. Wow. Can I ask you what led you to the decision to phase teaching out of your income streams?
Yeah. To be honest, I have never loved teaching private music lessons. Like, I have always very much been, I am a performer. Like, I can teach. I obviously did it for a really long time, but for me, it was more of a stepping stone to help me transition out of my 9 to 5s and into doing what I really want to be doing. So I was teaching for a long time, but honestly, it was something that at the end of the day, I would come home and I would feel so drained. Like teaching was never something that would light me up and make me feel super excited. I just have never been one of those people. So it was really just kind of that bridge of, okay, great. Like if I have to choose between working in a 9 to 5 versus doing something music related and getting paid for that, of course I would rather do something music related and be able to play my instrument and help other little flute students be able to grow. But it was, once I got to a certain point with my business and knowing, okay, things are stable, we're solid, I'm generating a nice consistent income from this. I now feel comfortable handing off all of my little flute babies to someone else that I can trust them with, and that this is what lights them up, and they love doing. So, yeah.
So teaching was really, like you said, so you had your 9 to 5 job. You were teaching because that was like part of your music outlet. And then that, like the amount of income that you had built up from both of those things allowed you to quit your 9 to 5 and then pursue what you ultimately is your calling, which is the like online marketing stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was kind of, it's that freelance juggling a bunch of different things in the beginning, right? And it's like when you start a business, you're not going to like hit the ground running and, oh my god, I'm working with all the best clients in the industry and, big name flutists and amazing, I've made it. Like that'd be great, but
Mhm.
that's not how it works. So, yeah, it was kind of a balancing the business side of things and teaching, and as the business side grew, kind of phasing more out of teaching.
Cool. That, I mean, that's like the dream, you know. I mean, not necessarily like phasing out teaching, but just like having the like feeling confident enough to like leave the things that you feel like you have to do in order to make money as a musician, in order to actually pursue the things that you want to pursue to make money as a musician.
Yeah, and I can tell you there were a lot of people that were like, "Are you sure you don't want to just keep these students like just in case, you know?" And it was I like it was an easy decision in the sense that I knew this was what I wanted to do with my business, but it was not an easy decision in the sense like, yeah, there are all like it is scary, right? Taking that leap because teaching is consistent income month after month after month, right? And there's also that human connection. Like I loved my students, we had those like I was having one-on-ones with them every single week, right? You get to know them as people and you care about them, but yeah, at the end of the day, for me, it just came down to like, I know that my business, this is how I'm going to be able to help and impact the most amount of people. This is also how my energy works best. I feel lit up doing this. This is my superpower. And so I really just, we're doing it, we're going for it.
Oh, that's great. I mean, like I know for a fact that teaching is not for everyone, you know,
Yeah.
and it is very draining, especially like if you have actually spent like so many years in higher education, like learning to be a performer and not focusing on the pedagogical aspects of it. And then you're forced to do it out of necessity, but it's not necessarily the thing that, like, I mean, it's not the thing that any of us necessarily set out to do as performers.
Right. And honestly, it was one of those things where it's kind of like taboo to talk about, because when I was in undergrad and grad school, I had pedagogy classes like every single semester. So even though I was performance track, they still really did train us in pedagogy. So I had that training, but to come out and say when you're in school and taking these classes and it's ingrained in you, oh well, if you're a musician you're going to teach at some point eventually, right? So get used to it. I'm like, well, I don't like teaching. And it was kind of one of those things where I felt like I couldn't say it for a really long time. Honestly, I didn't. You kind of put on that face, oh yeah, teaching's great, right? But on the inside you're like, oh my god, this is like draining. This is draining me.
That's great that you even had pedagogy classes as a performance major, though, because I did not. You know, like there was just like kind of like coming down here to Texas. Like, I mean, I had been teaching before, but like never to the extent that you do when you live in Texas, right? And
Yeah.
so that is a big jump. That is very overwhelming when all of a sudden you have 10 beginners and you've never taught a sixth grader how to hold a flute before. You
Oh my
know,
gosh.
like
Yeah. Yep.
craziness.
And I will say it's nice though, because a lot of that pedagogy training has directly translated to now like the online courses and stuff that I teach, right? So even, I mean, I'm obviously not teaching flute, but yeah, a lot of those skills definitely transferable. So very grateful for that training.
So, speaking of transferable skills, can you tell the people a little bit about your 9 to 5 job and all of the training that you got there that you were able to apply to like build your own media agency?
Yeah, so that's the middle chunk of that story from the beginning, right? That we kind of skipped
Mhm.
over.
Sorry.
No, yeah, it was my 9 to 5s. It's an interesting kind of jump because after I graduated, I was doing the whole freelancing thing, teaching, doing gigs, but it's just so much work and you're driving everywhere and not barely even making enough money to pay your bills, right? So had to get a 9 to 5 because your girl had bills to pay. So in my 9 to 5s, I started out, it was at an optometrist's office. Actually, that's why I have so many pairs of glasses. Spoiler alert.
Oh.
So I was working at an optometrist's office as a receptionist. But David and I knew that we were going to move to Austin. And I also knew that if you're a tech, you make way more money. So I finagled my way into being trained as a tech. And then when we moved over to Austin, I was working at a tech here at an ophthalmology practice, which was crazy because I was even like assisting with some surgical procedures, like cataract surgery, LASIK, like minor procedures, which is, I mean, insane. Like,
Wow.
okay, who put me in there? But anyway, I mean, thanks. It was very interesting. But yeah, so all of this medical training, but it was really interesting because along the way, and really honestly, since I was in undergrad, I've been getting these little nudges of like, marketing and social media and PR and websites. And so in all of the 9 to 5s I had, I would always kind of end up being the person that would help when they were like, oh, well, yeah, like we need to get this out to the press, or we need to do this event, or we have this social media, but we're not sure to do with it, right? I was kind of always the person like, oh, what? Here, let me help with that. I have all of these ideas. Great. This is awesome. But then when I moved over to Austin, and I was working at an ophthalmology practice here, there was one meeting that the owner of the practice, they were very much all about like, hey, how can we improve, how can we do this, blah blah blah. And so we had a meeting on how we could reach a more millennial demographic. And
Mm.
I came to that meeting, I like had my notes, I had statistics, I was so prepared and just like dominated everything. I'm throwing out like all of these ideas for like social media, we need to get on this news station, do this and do this, and like all of these ideas. And so after the meeting, the owner pulled me aside and was like, hey, so you're obviously like good at this. This is kind of your thing. And I feel like if we're not utilizing you for this, you are like being, a lot of your talent is just being wasted. So do you want to start helping out with this? And I'm like, yes, that would be awesome. So, so I got to start helping with the marketing side of this. I mean, multi-million, probably billion-dollar practice, to be honest with you, like massive, massive practice. And so they had this big wig marketing agency that I don't even want to know how much they paid per year. It'd probably make me throw up way
Oh my
too much.
gosh.
But it was like this big wig marketing agency, like something out of Mad Men, so I got to start sitting in with their meetings, helping develop their strategies, helping with their social media and their website. Actually, like if you look at it now, the design of it, like I pretty much created that design and it's still there, So I started to help with this, and it was the first time in a really long time that I actually finally started feeling inspired again, because
Mhm.
over the course of these years in 9 to 5s, right? Like I wasn't really doing anything music related and I was freaking depressed. Like I would come home at the end of the day. I'm I feel so bad that all I want to do is play and be able to go perform and blah, blah, blah. But I don't even have the energy to. I don't even have the energy to
Mhm.
practice. Like I was so drained. And so yeah, when I finally realized like, oh, I'm feeling excited again. I'm feeling so, like excited and I want to go do these things and learn more about this. I was just like, okay, we're just going with this. So I really just dove head first and started any podcast, blog, books, like literally anything and everything that I could get my hands on that was related to web design or social media or marketing, anything like that. I was like just soaking it all in like a sponge. So eventually left there, started doing it more full time in a few different practices, and then eventually had the, realization, hey, why am I doing this for other people when I've seen the results? I know it works. And I can just do this for myself and help my people and me. So that's how that went.
And then that's your like bridge back into music, right? Because a lot of
Yep.
your work that you do with your web design and stuff is for musicians.
Yep, exactly. And it was interesting because when I first made the transition from 9 to 5 into music, originally I was doing it to build my own career, right? So I was booking guest residencies and speaking stuff that I was getting paid for. I was booking performances and doing more gigging with orchestras because I had started pitching myself for it. I landed those students and I did take on it was two like freelance kind of social media clients, but the majority of what I was doing was music at that point. And so the reason that my courses were born was because I started having people constantly in my DMs and asking me, "Oh my god, how did you do this? How did you do this? How were you able to switch out and now you're doing music and you have your studio and blah blah blah. Like how did you do this?" Right? So then that's exactly how the more business side of things and my courses, that's how that was created. Because I mean, we're not taught this in school, which is a whole other tangent I could go off on. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's information that we need to know if we want to be able to make a living for ourselves, doing what we want to do.
Why do you think musicians tend to shy away from marketing themselves online? You know?
Okay, here are my thoughts on this. I think, really, it's a mindset thing. I mean, first of all, musicians, like all of our training is so intensive and just like focused on our craft, right? You need to practice, you need to practice, you need to practice. And what is ingrained into us is getting a job, right?
Mhm.
Whether that's getting a professorship or you're going to win an orchestra job, right? But the reality of those happening is so minuscule. And like, I'm not saying this to, I hope I'm not sending anybody into a tailspin right now, but I think it's important to know up front, like, this is the reality of getting a job that pays you an actual livable income, because that's the other side of this. Even full-time orchestra jobs, like the very last audition that I took, it was for a full-time position, right? And it was like $25,000 a year. You can't live off of that.
Ugh,
Like you
no.
cannot live off of that. And so, it's so ingrained in us to practice, 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 and you're gonna get this job and you're gonna win these competitions and blah blah blah. But the reality of that happening is so freaking small that it's like we need to be taught these skills when we're in school. Okay, well, what if you can't, right? But we're not. So musicians, we have this mindset of, well, I'm going to win a job. I'm going to win a job. I'm going to win a job. And like, I'm 100% guilty of this too, because before I met David, I literally told my entire family, I am never getting married because I just want to play in an orchestra. I'm going to be principal flute. And if I'm not doing that, I am not going to be happy in my life, even if I'm with the perfect person. Like that is where my brain was at. And that is what happens to so many of us because it's so ingrained, win that job, or become a professor, become a professor. So we get stuck in this mindset, and then when somebody comes in and says, hey, by the way, did you know that if you actually want to make money with this, you should also be marketing yourself and like, oh yeah, you need to be building your audience, right? We get almost offended, and I know because I did this too, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, so you mean that I have to practice 5 hours a day, but I also have to show up on Instagram every day and engage and build my, like, okay, great, Nicole, thanks so much for telling me I need full-time, like, two full-time jobs. Get your head out of your ass, right? Like, that's, we got almost offended by it. But like, it's because of that mindset that is ingrained into us when we're in school, like, get that job, get that job, get that job, right?
Mhm.
So like, literally the majority of what I spend my time doing is just educating other musicians that, like, hey, this is a thing and this is the reality, and I love you and I hope all of your dreams come true. But in case you're like me and you don't win a job right after school, like, would you rather be able to work for yourself, or would you rather go in a 9 to 5 where you're working for somebody else and they're telling you what to do and you have zero control over what you're doing and zero energy left at the end of the day to even practice? Like, ask me how I know, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really, it's just it's a big mindset thing.
Could not have said it better myself. I also think that like a lot of people, like if you were to tell them in school, like you should probably also start like you need to have your own website and you need to be like talking about yourself online like to anyone who will listen, you know, if you told them that, then they might also take it as you thinking that they're not capable of winning a job after all of that hard work
Hmm.
that they've put in, and then they would just get offended. And then
Yeah.
if it was me, I would be like, well, I'll show you, and then double down on the practicing and trying to get a job situation, and then neglect the online presence stuff. Like for a long time, I did not like Instagram. I was very against everything that Instagram stood for because like at the beginning, you know, it seemed like quite vain, you know, the way that a
Mhm.
lot of people use Instagram. But then like as it has grown and now it's like everyone is on Instagram, like you can use it however you want to use it. It's not just for like posting selfies and like vanity metrics and like stuff like that, you know, and like so much of that is the opposite of what musicians like encounter on a daily basis. That is like if you told them like you need to be spending more time on this platform, they'd be like, but that's like not me, you know?
Oh yeah, or then there's the fears of, oh well, this video isn't perfect. Like, I didn't play it perfectly here. I can't do that. Um yeah, there's just a lot of big mindset blocks.
Ugh. So, in terms of like leaving your 9 to 5 job, I know that no one ever truly feels comfortable leaving their 9 to 5 job unless like you've been saving so that you like have enough money to live on for months, you know? Like at what point did you feel comfortable enough to make that decision to leave your comfortable 95 job, 9 to 5 job?
Yeah, and that's a big one, and I wouldn't necessarily encourage other people to do what I did because I did not have any savings,
Oh my
to be
gosh.
honest with you. I literally, like, I was just so freaking miserable that it was to the point where, like, it was a mental health thing, you know? It's like, if I keep doing this and keep forcing myself to do this, like, I'm gonna be in a very dark place, and I'm like, I just can't stay in that, you know? And I just had to get out. And so I was just busting my ass trying to get as many teaching things as I could, and getting a couple social media clients. And I pretty much set I figured out what all of my monthly expenses were. And I was like, okay, if I can build my teaching and get, a couple clients, so that way I am generating at least this much a month. So that way I can pay my freaking bills. I'm done. I'm out. I can't do this anymore. Which, like, obviously that's not necessarily the smartest way of going about things. Like, you should probably save up first and make sure you have like 6 months or a year of savings and blah blah blah. But just for like mentally where I was at, I literally could not handle staying there any longer. And so it was just, I just need to get out.
I mean, good for you, like knowing yourself and knowing that like you had to make the decision for your own mental health, you know. And it sounds like you had plenty of work, you know, that allowed you to quit your 9 to 5 job. You probably weren't like living super comfortably. but you were living, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely that, barely scraping by. Like, am I going to be able to pay my bills this month? But, it's better than being at a 9 to 5. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and I guess like people just you have to just like weigh your options, like only you know what is right for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Mm.
exactly.
So anyway, okay, next thing I wanted to talk about because we were kind of talking about like people feeling some stigma around Instagram. Um, the classical music industry itself has a reputation of being like quote unquote like stuffy, like
Mhm.
highfalutin type, high art that is not accessible to the everyman. And you, as a musician, and you personally, your tone and your personality online is like the exact opposite of being stuffy, right?
Yes.
And a lot of young professional musicians and people just leaving school are like very hyper aware of their own reputation and how their higher ups view them and like look down on them. So, my question for you is like, obviously, you're just being yourself online.
Hmm.
Was there ever a point where you thought that you might have to censor yourself in order to protect your quote unquote reputation in the classical music world?
Oh, well, I think this question has a lot of facets to
Mm-hmm.
it. And it has definitely evolved over time, right? Like I will say I'm very privileged right now in the fact that I can say whatever I want to because I run my own business, right? And I mean, I guess the flip side of that is yes, I could, go off on something and a potential client sees that and like, oh, well, I don't want to work with her, right? But going back to the beginning, my personal views on this is if I am showing up online and I'm posting, let's say, a practice video where it's not perfect, or I'm showing a, real look behind the scenes or talking about how I'm feeling about something, right? If a potential employer or an orchestra or their personnel manager or whatever, if they see something and they don't like it and would make the decision not to hire me because of it, I don't want to freaking play with them anyway because
Yes.
yeah, it's like that is then going to be a situation where I'm not going to feel comfortable. If I'm going to walk into a 5-hour rehearsal and sit there and everybody's super uptight and they're all looking at you and judging, like those are so uncomfortable. Like I think we've all probably had a situation like that and like I don't want to be there. I want nothing to do with it. I don't care how much you're paying me. Like I don't want to be involved with that. The gigs and the opportunities and the places where I have the most fun and where I am able to help the most people is where I am around other people who are more fun and they're not afraid to, drop an F bomb or, like it's more casual. And like I would also say now from somebody who's been in the industry for a while and has seen the behind the scenes, like okay, I'm just going to throw this out there, but like you would be surprised how your, professors and all of these principal players, like how they act behind the scenes. Like they're real freaking people too. Okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're probably dropping an F bomb and like having a beer and what, like they're doing normal people things, they are real people. So we get so caught up in like what we perceive is perfect, right? In quotes, perfect and what we're supposed to do and supposed to say. But the reality is me being me and showing my personality has gotten me more opportunities than when I censor myself because people are it's different than what anybody else is doing and they can see who I am and they can trust that I'm being authentic and what I'm saying is it's not BS, like I'm just going to tell you how it is. And so that has gotten my foot in the door for so many more opportunities because it builds so much more trust and it lets them actually get to know me versus just being this stuffy and oh I only post perfect videos and share what's perfect and amazing about my life and don't ever stand up for what I believe in and like get out of here with that. That's so like I like 500 years ago, like I mean obviously not literally but like it's just so old school, like it's people can't connect with that.
Yeah, for sure. You literally took the words right out of my mouth. If anyone has an issue with how I'm presenting myself and like how I do things like to the world on Instagram, then like chances are those are the kind of people I don't really want to work with anyway, you know?
Exactly. It's attract and repel marketing. You are going to attract more of the people who will appreciate you for you, love what you do, and they're going to have a much stronger bond with you versus we're going to repel all of those people that are going to be a pain in the ass anyway. Like, get out of here. We don't need that.
And that's just like, I mean, that just comes from being yourself. You know, people have to like feel confident enough that they can be themselves online and they don't have to be like on this perfect pedestal of classical music and everything has to be in this perfect box and it has a bow on it. And, you know, like,
Yeah.
I mean, those people, maybe those are the kind of people that will win the job, you know, because that is if that is truly who they are and that is truly how they are living their life, then maybe they deserve it, you know. But at the end of the day, that's like 1% of us. So for the other 99%, why not just be relatable and be yourself and just be like a regular person, like a human being, you
Yeah,
know?
human. And I mean, even for like the winning the jobs, I can tell you with all of the orchestras that I have ever played with, I mean, I none of the musicians, maybe like a couple of them had that persona of being that like stuffy and uptight and blah blah blah. But like the majority of them, they're after the concert, they're throwing off their cardigan and they're grabbing a beer and they're like, hey, where are we going tonight? They're like, it's that that is that is who they are behind the scenes. Like, sure, maybe they have that, when we're on stage, we have the all black and we have our pantyhose on and blah blah blah, cell phones on silent. But like behind the scenes, like the real is like they're just themselves too. So I'm just a big fan of you do you and don't feel like you need to stifle who you are to fit into some neat little box. And I think the other side of this is I think this also like is honestly kind of harmful because then people aren't actually able to even figure out who they are,
Mm.
because you're trying to fit inside of this neat little box and have a pretty little bow on you and a sensor. And like, oh, yeah, I tried doing that all through college. And let me tell you, like, it's not great. And then you graduate and as you're trying to like figure out like, well, who am I? What is my voice? What are things that I like, right? Like it's way harder because you've been trying to force yourself into this little tiny confine of something that you aren't actually. And it's just don't do that. Just be yourself.
Uh, for sure, for sure. I hope that all of these like if you're in college right now, you're getting ready to graduate and you're listening to this, please listen to these words and take them to heart. Take it from people who have been out in the real world for a few years. It's not sustainable to keep living in that little pretty box with a bow on it. It's not sustainable. It won't work.
Yeah, here's my hot take on this. My one piece of advice, just literally like stop giving a fuck. Like you're giving too many fucks. Sorry. You're gonna have to put like the little explicit thing on this episode,
No,
but
it's fine. I don't care. I really don't care. Because we're being real, right? Telling
yep,
people
this is
what they need to
me.
hear. So, okay, so in terms of musicians feeling more comfortable with using platforms like Instagram, like how can musicians nowadays make Instagram work for them?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is, I mean, stop doing what everybody else is doing. Because exactly like we were talking about with the personality, right? Like that's one of the big reasons that I've been able to attract so many opportunities and so many amazing clients and people who want to work with me, but also people who like they want to work with me and they freaking love what I do, right? That's because I'm doing my own thing, right? Like I'm just showing up, I'm being me. If I have a, thought in the morning, I'm like, dang, like this really pissed me off this morning. Let's freaking talk about it, right? Like when you are just doing what what all of the classical musicians on Instagram are doing, right? I'm going to post a flat lay of my flute. And here's a picture of my flute on top of my sheet music with a flower on it. And here's a video of me standing in front of my camera playing with the sheet music running under it. Like, okay, great. Like I just scrolled through my feed and freaking everything looks the same. Like, why am I going to stop and pay attention to what you're doing? Like, this is like, we are creative by our nature. We are creative people, right? But when it comes to Instagram, it's always so funny to me that people like just immediately do what everybody else is doing. Like just quit it. Take a break, go like put your phone away, stop looking at Instagram and come up with your own unique ideas on ways that you can show up and ways that you can showcase, who you are, what you love, what you're playing, right? Versus just what everybody else is doing, because that is what is going to make you stand out. That is what's going to draw people to you. And I know there are so many people that are like, oh, well, Nicole, I live in this small place and there's nowhere exciting for me to go take pictures at, or like my life is so boring and I just it's so boring. I just practice and whatever. But the reality is like the way that you practice or the way that you word things, just the fact that you innately do things that are completely different than other people, right? Or maybe I don't know, maybe the way that you like your coffee is different, right? Like people want to know those things, even though to you, like, yeah, you do it every day. So it doesn't seem interesting. I think my life is super freaking boring and I don't have anything interesting either, right? But from outside perspectives, like somebody might see that and be like, oh my God, that I've never thought of that, So just just also being secure in the fact and knowing that just simply by the fact that you are completely unique and different. And that is going to be interesting to other people. So don't already start like immediately bashing yourself, like, oh, my life is so boring or I'm not interesting, right? Like, yeah, because you are living your life and you're there every single day, right? So to outside people, it's going to look completely different for them.
So for so in terms of the musician who does see, the everyone just like playing their flutes with the sheet music running underneath of it, or the beautiful flat lays of like flute pictures and stuff. Um, and you said that like we as musicians innately are creative. So I guess what am I trying to ask? How am I trying to phrase this? If that's what Instagram has become, you know, then like what is the next level, or like what are the supplements to having a good Instagram presence? Like what are the things that are going to make you stand out online as a musician nowadays?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think first is just being yourself, which we've already talked about plenty. I mean, that's really going to be the key because then you're just naturally going to do things that are not what everybody else is doing, right? Um, but then another part of this, I think, is actually understanding the power that social media has and using it. This is literally, can I just say, and I'm sorry in advance if you're somebody that has ever said this, but every single time I get a musician that says, oh, I don't have enough time, I need to be practicing, I want to bang my head against a freaking wall. Okay, great. You're going to go in your practice room and practice for 5 hours a day for 4 years while you get your undergrad, and then you're going to emerge. And then what? You're going to have a line of people magically waiting around the block that want to hire you. Like, I'm sorry, but that is not how it works. That would be amazing and wonderful if that's how it did. Or, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that I go viral. Like, that's not a freaking strategy that you can rely on. If you want to take your future into your own hands, and I know that sounds like, oh, this big thing, but like literally that is the fact of it. If you know how to harness the power of social media in order to build an audience for yourself, you literally have the power in your own hands to create whatever kind of career you want to create, right? You don't have to be boxed in and just do one thing. And I know a lot of us are also multi-passionate, right? Like I do a lot of things and I get to do all of them because I harness the power of social media and built an audience that knows me and loves what I do. And I've built a career off of that, right? So that is literally like, that is so freaking powerful to me. And honestly, I would even prefer that over having a job in quotes, right? A professor job or an orchestra job, because then that's your one thing, right? You're a one trick pony. Basically, go up, do your concerts, perform, and great, you get your applause. But what if you love other things too? What if you want to do other things? What if you're someone like me that, you're like, yeah, I can teach, but that's not really lights me up. Okay, well, then don't box yourself in and only force yourself to do that, right? When you can use social media and get out there and engage with people and build those real relationships and build your community and your audience, you can literally do whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. Which is so freeing.
Yeah. It's so freaking empowering.
Mm-hmm. So okay, so we've got Instagram, and then obviously everyone knows that they need to have a website to some extent, right? What would you say if you had to like pick a third thing that musicians have to have nowadays to have their online presence in order? What would be the third thing? Instagram, website, and then
Yeah. So the third thing I would say for the essential skills for a musician who wants to be able to generate an income for themselves, yes, website, social media where you're building your audience, and then the final thing is knowing how to pitch yourself.
mm-hmm.
And here, let me just I need to have a teacup. Like, let me take a sip of my tea real quick, because all the freaking people that like to send out their link, oh, here's my new music video, check it out, and they're just sending it in DM. Oh, stop it. That's not how things work. That is not how you pitch things. That's just like, oh, I don't know who is teaching this. Who is teaching this? But please, for the love of God, stop. I'm shouting this into the universe and hear me, right? That is not how you go about things. Like, literally, when you can learn how to pitch yourself, you really can get a yes to pretty much anything, right? I've booked paid speaking gigs from this, being brought in at universities for doing guest artist residencies and master classes and performing. You can book performances. I literally landed a recording offer from Naxos for pitching for it. Like, if you know how to pitch for things, that's that's pretty much the final piece in the puzzle, right? So it's like you can go pitch for things, and then you have your social media and your website there backing you up, showing your presence. Hey, I'm a real person. Here's my group of people that are here supporting me. And then, by the way, here's how I can help you, right? Does this work out for you? Like, would this be helpful for you? It's yeah, that's the cherry on top and how you put everything together.
And that's the hard part for a lot of people, like having their self-worth and their confidence in order, and like knowing how to effectively pitch themselves to a greater entity. Like that for me is the hard part.
Yeah, and it's all coming back to that mindset work, which I know you did an episode with Chelsea
Mm-hmm.
Tanner, and I'm just like, go work with her, okay? If you have mindset issues, go get that fixed. And then I think people like underestimate how powerful it is, because literally every single period of growth in my business, I actually can trace back to my mindset. It's like if I was in a period where I had a shitty mindset, as soon as I fixed it, boom, things take off, right? Like, we don't realize how, honestly, I would say probably like the majority of the time, the vast majority of the time, the thing keeping us stuck is us
Mm.
and what we think about ourselves and what we're telling ourselves. Our thoughts and what we're thinking, that directly controls the results that you're going to get. Like, it's so powerful. So yeah, you gotta get your mind right, and you have to believe in yourself. Like, there was this like meme or something I saw on Facebook that was like, you believed in Santa Claus for half your life, you can believe in yourself for 5 seconds. It's like, it's true. Like, you really have to believe in yourself. There's something to be said for that. She was crazy enough to believe she could, so she did. Like, yeah, if whatever you think, whatever you're telling yourself, if you're saying I can't, guess what? You're not gonna be able to. But if you're saying, yeah, I'm gonna do this and I can, then you're going to.
And it's one thing, when I'm teaching and I've got a kid, like for instance, like your 3 octave C scale, and they have to play it for their audition for band for next year. And I ask them to play the 3 octave C scale. And they're like, I don't know if I can. Like, I,
Yep.
I think I can't. And I'm like, well, yeah, with that attitude, you can't. But I believe in you. I believe you can.
Yep.
And then they play it and they're fine, you know.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
the
I
hard
feel
part is believing in yourself.
Yep, exactly. I feel like when I was still teaching, I feel like my students probably hated me because I would not let them say I can't or I literally would not let them say it. And if they said it, I would make them say like a positive affirmation of like, I can play my C3 octave scale. I would make them say it 10 times in a row.
Oh, that's really good. I love that.
Gotta reaffirm those beliefs.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, so the three pieces of the puzzle in terms of like being able to market yourself and like get comfortable with like putting yourself out there, getting your online presence in order, telling the world about what you have to offer as a musician. You've got your website, your social media, and just the mindset to just like get out there and do it.
Yeah, that pitching. And actually, I would also add in there something I did not mention is branding too, because that's
Mm.
like, you know, that's going to be carried across through your website and social media. So, really, branding website, social media, and getting your mindset right and getting out there and pitching yourself and get what you want.
Yes. So now I think is a great time to tell everyone about the awesome and very exciting live online training that we have coming up just for the Unclassical Musician listeners with none other than Nicole herself. That's coming up on Friday, April 9th at 11 a.m. Central Time. Can you tell the people a little bit about what they're going to learn in that free live class?
Yeah, so I'm super, super excited to be hosting this class for everyone. So, we are diving into Instagram specifically because if you could not tell by this episode, we love Instagram,
Hmm.
kind of my thing. So, yes, we are going to learn how to be able to use Instagram to consistently sell out your offers. Meaning, if you want to book students through Instagram, if you want to use Instagram to, let's say, sell a CD that you have or merch that you have, whatever it is that your offer is that you are selling, we are going to learn how to use Instagram to be able to get more bookings, get more students, sell things. And I'm going to show you how to do it without needing to have a massive audience because that is one of the biggest things that I hear people saying, oh, I can't do this because I don't have 10,000 followers yet. Or, oh, I can't do this because I don't have da 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 da, right? But I can tell you, and we will go more in depth on this in the class. I've personally worked with somebody who had over 500,000 followers on Instagram that was making $0. And I also know people who have less than 1,000 followers on Instagram who are making six figures. So audience size literally does not matter. It doesn't matter. So that is what we were talking about. I'm going to be breaking down the entire system of how I do it so that way you can get out there and do this too.
Yes, I'm so excited. All of the links for that are going to be in the show notes for this episode. And if you are following me on Instagram at Tori Lupinek Flutist, and if you are on the Unclassical Musicians Facebook group, there's going to be a lot more information coming out about the class in the coming week. Yes, coming week, because this show is airing on Tuesday, and then the class will be the week after that. Friday, April 9th, 11 a.m. Central Time. Sorry, sometimes like with recording and like scheduling the conversations and stuff, it's like, okay, wait, but this is coming out on Tuesday of next week, but then what's the I don't
Yeah,
even
no,
know what
your
day it is
your brain
anymore.
worked faster on that than mine would have. So
Okay, great. Hopefully everyone is clear on when the class is happening. And let's see, last thing we have to do is you need to tell the people where they can find you online and how they can work with you.
yes. So you can come find me on Instagram. I'm sure we're shocked. My handle is at Nicole Riccardo, NicoleRiccardo. So feel free to come follow me there. I do lots of, tips and tricks and all those good things. And if you have any questions, also feel free to DM me. I don't bite. I'm happy to answer your questions. So you can find me there. I also have a Facebook group called Create Elevate Your Career, which is specifically for other creative musicians, freelancers out there trying to make a living, So yeah, those are pretty much the two places I spend the most of my internet time. And if you're listening to any of this and thinking, oh my God, okay, Nicole, this all sounds like exactly what I need. How do I do this? Feel free to pop on over to my website. I have my courses there. Create Your Career, the Instagram Marketing and Sales Academy, which I will tell you more about at the end of our class. But yeah, so that's all there for you. Whatever you need, here to help.
And then you've also got your NR media for those folks who might feel like they need a little extra oomph with the branding and the website situation.
Yes, exactly. For anyone out there that's like, Nicole, I really just don't want to deal with this on my own. Can you just do it for me and make it look amazing? Yes, good news. We're here for that too. So yeah, the website for that is NicoleRiccardoMedia.com. And the one of the things that I really, really love about what we've created there is we actually also have website templates.
Ooh.
So if you are someone that's like, I don't really want to spend, like thousands of dollars on a custom website, but I also still want to make sure my website looks freaking bomb and is set up to convert, because we're all about conversions, right? You can go get one of those website templates. They're super affordable. Just plug in your pictures, plug in your colors, boom, website done. Most people that get those actually finish it in less than a week. So,
wow, quick turnaround.
yeah, super duper fast, because we literally like set everything up for you. It's literally just plug in your pictures. We say this here, and then you type it in kind of like Mad Lib style, and boom, done. Easy.
I have taken a look at the previews for those. Those are good bang for your buck. Anyone who's never had a website before, if you want to like get yourself started with a good one right away, like, and you might not have $1,000 to do it, you check out those templates. Those are good.
Yes. And that's, I mean, literally exactly why we made those too, for anybody that's, a student or just like, oh, I want a website that looks great, but don't really want to figure out how to design it on my own. Like, we got you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Nicole, for spending time with me today. I know you are a busy lady. I really appreciate it. And I think there was a lot of great info in this conversation for the listeners today.
Yes. Thank you so, so much for having me. And I'm super excited for our training.
Yes. Yay. Great. I'm so excited too. So we will all I'll see you again. Everyone will hear you and see you again on Friday, April 9th.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I don't know about y'all, but I'm like fired up to get out there and get stuff done, if you know what I mean. I hope that you will join us, Nicole and I, for this exclusive free, did I say free, online training for how to sell out your offers on Instagram just for Unclassical listeners. This is just for us. It's going to be a private party. The links are going to be everywhere. Got the links in the show notes. That free training is going to happen on Friday, April 9th, 2021 at 11 a.m. Central Time. If you are sick and tired of this pandemic nonsense and you want to have more sustainable, reliable income doing what you love, this class is for you. If you want to book more high-paying gigs, if you want to attract the right students, if you want to build your virtual network, I hope to see you there. All right. As always, if you enjoyed today's episode and you want to keep making sure that the Unclassical Musician is able to bring on fantastic guests like Nicole Riccardo, be sure to check out the Unclassical Musician on Patreon. That's patreon.com/the Unclassical Musician. Link in the show notes. And if you have it in your heart to take 2 seconds to rate, review, and subscribe if you are part of the 50% of the listeners on the Apple Podcasts app right now. It actually is super important for podcasts to be able to be found on the platform. It takes 2 seconds. I would super appreciate it. But only if you're gonna give the show 5 stars. Like if you're not enjoying the show, like please don't leave a review, because I'm not about getting 1-star reviews for my podcast. Thank you very much. And also if you want to give us 1 star. I don't know why you're listened all the way to the end of the show anyways. But I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending an hour out of your important day with me. Oh my God, I'm sounding like my Orange Theory coaches right now. I'm sorry. That means it's time for me to go. I'm going to let you go with the happy ukulele music. And I will definitely see you next week for a solo episode, just me, about how I was able to build my private lesson studio in the Houston area. So that's going to be our next podcast episode. And then the class with Nicole Riccardo is going to be Friday, April 9th. See you there.